Welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. Folks, the social media world, the digital world, loud, crowded, half truths, no truths. You need professionals like Drago and his team at Oak City Tech to help you get your message out to your current clients and your future clients. Go to oakcitytech.com. Tell them what you're looking for. I know they'll be able to help you. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning, and each week on Triangle BNI, we talk to a local small business owner. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle is Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill each week. There are about 31 chapters and about 530 members get together. And our goal is to help each other grow our businesses. And today is a first on the show, which, I love first on the show. We are bringing in our cousins from the uh, coastal chapter, from the coastal region in Wilmington. And our first guest today from Wilmington is Diana Watkins with CSM Flooring. Diana is in chapter CCS3, Tropical Storm. They meet Thursday mornings at 8 a.m. at the Angus Grill on North 4th Street in Wilmington. If you're in the area, you want to meet some fun people and a really good productive chapter, you can go visit her chapter. Diana is the vice president there. Diana, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Doing good. We are headed east on I-40. I love it. I love it. So I've
Come
gotten
on
to
down to the beach.
I know. I've gotten to know the group a little bit down there in July and looking to further develop relationships. Diane and I just kind of, you meet people, just kind of hit it off, start talking a little business, a little fun, start laughing. And before you know it, the hour's up. You're like, wow, that was quick. Diana's chapter is a good one. It's a lot like one of the best chapters I've been in before. It's 65% production, 40% snark. Because you got to get along. I mean, you want, especially at 8 o'clock on a Thursday morning, right?
Very true, with no breakfast.
Yeah, that's true too. At the Angus Grill, they're nice enough to open up for you guys. But you got to want to wake up on Thursday morning and go, I'm going to see my gang.
Right.
CSM Flooring. All right. So we've not had many flooring people on the show. I don't think we spend a lot of time looking around our house. We'll hear a creak or we'll see a stain on a carpet, but when should we start thinking about, I wonder if it's time to replace something in our house?
Well, that's funny. In an older established home, most people don't realize that the average life of a carpet is 8 to 10 years. They usually wait 15
Ooh,
to
yeah.
or longer to replace. There's a lot of nasty stuff in that carpet, and the fibers have pretty much done their job. For hard surfaces like wood, it's more when you're starting to see the scratches, discoloration. Um, of course, being at the beach, and we get those wonderful things called hurricanes. When those floors get wet, we recommend replacing them. There's really no right or wrong because we have a lot of new construction down here. Most builder grade floors have an average life of about 3 to 4 years before they've pretty much, you've gotten your money's worth out of them. So with those newer homes, putting it into your budget for that first 5 years to replace the builder grade flooring is usually a good idea as well.
That's a really good point because I've learned in my years in BNI just little subtleties like that. And most of us, I guess some people do know, but I don't think everybody knows that the stuff that goes into a newly built house is all builder grade, which means it's bland. I won't say it's cheap, but it's not long lasting product, be it paint on the wall or wood or flooring or carpet flooring.
It's all designed to make that per square foot price come in where the builder can put the price point to sell the house quickly, because the builder doesn't want to be stuck with the house for a long period of time. Even on what we call semi-custom homes where they're track built houses, but you can choose, I generally tell the client, take the least expensive option, because 2-3 years from now, between the dust from being in a construction site outside, you will be upset if you upgraded and you still don't get the life out.
If I'm working with a builder and they've already started building my house, can I bring you in to talk about the right long-lasting flooring that I want?
It depends on the builder. Some builders buy in bulk in large quantities, and that's all they're going to offer you. We typically call those track builders, and it's houses where you see it's housing developments where you see 150, 200 houses going up in, a year or 2 years. They typically do not give you that choice. Some of those builders, big name builders that we recognize, um, like DR Horton, like Bill Clark Homes, they have a custom division where they still use their floor plans, but you can customize your finishes and things like that. A good builder will tell you to go shop around and look at your different prices and your different options. And if you find something that you like better, if it's out of your price point, that difference comes from you. And if it's within your price point, either they will install it or use the subcontractor to install it for you.
But if I'm getting a house built and I don't like anything they have and I don't want builder grade and I know you and I
Mhm.
call you, and of course I'm going to turn you over to my wife, Becky. I'm not going to be any part of that, nor do I want any, because frankly, I can't tell colors. So I don't know what they're going to look like. And anyways, just a wise husband move on my part. You and I could agree on a flooring that we want in the house and I would buy it from you and they would put it in.
Yes, typically builders will have someone on their staff that can do hard surface like wood or luxury vinyl plank, which is number one flooring covering in the United States right now. 9 times out of 10, they do not have carpet installers, so they will come to us and have us do the carpet. And sometimes just for time, they will use us for our installation for the other things, tile as well.
Living at the beach, sand is a lot of fun. It's kinda like not quite as strong as wind and water because wind and water will go wherever it wants. Sand just seems to find its way in your house. How do we take care of carpets and floors a little longer in beach areas?
So with carpet, obviously vacuuming is your best friend. Carpet manufacturers tell you that you should be vacuuming your entire carpeted area once a week for every person who lives in the house. So if you have
Oh,
5 people living in the house, the entire house should be vacuumed 5 times a week. That's not necessarily reality for most people.
wow.
Um, but professional cleaning every 12 to 18 months is also something that will extend the life of the carpet. I typically recommend a dry cleaning service. We have a great guy in our BNI chapter that runs a OxyFresh
Mhm.
franchise, but the maintenance is the most important on carpet. As far as hard surface, carpet sand scratches, and so hardwood floors, you have to expect that kind of scratching, or really use high grade floors that have been uh, with an oxidized finish to delete the sand damage. And it's why luxury vinyl plank has become so popular. It's scratch resistant. So the sand should not do the damage that it would to a hardwood.
Now, your company was founded in 1977 as Carpet Supermart in the Triad.
Correct.
And 40 years later, changed ownership and became CSM. I can imagine, I think, how many options were available in flooring in 1977.
Most of those options are still available. They're just not in demand. But you had carpet options. You had sheet vinyl, which is also called linoleum. Um, in the 80s, laminate floor came out. Wood floors have been around forever. There's nothing better to me than somebody who's a flooring nerd to go into a 200-year-old house and see those original
Mm,
pine wood hand cut floors,
yep.
because there's nothing like them. Nothing.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with you on that. For those folks who have dogs, cats not so much, but dogs, they come in and out of the house. I mean, do we wipe their feet every time? What do we do with them to maintain flooring?
Uh, You know, uh, Animals are what create business for me, because probably 35% of the people who walk through the door say my dog has dug up the carpet. I have an older or a younger animal that has, done their business on the floors. There's really nothing that you can do for specifically for an animal. Again, without going scratch resistant or tile. But the maintenance is what keeps your floors looking good with cleaning up after them properly.
So if you and your husband have 3 kids in a house, you gotta vacuum every day almost? Wow.
Yes, theoretically, but
Wow.
to uphold the manufacturer's warranty, yes,
Wow.
yes. Now, I
Uh,
do have friends who are obsessive compulsive and do it
yeah,
with only 3 people in the house.
yeah.
But I know when my kids were younger, vacuuming 4 times a week, that wasn't happening.
No, you're probably trying to get 8 loads of laundry done in a week when they're little and they're running around and playing and stuff like that. Oh, yeah. I remember that. I've also learned in BNI about carpet stretchers and carpet replacers. You can replace a patch on a carpet, but does it usually turn out okay?
So carpet is directional. It's made typically in 12-foot widths. And people will say, well, I have a piece in the attic or out in the garage, and you don't know what direction that carpet was running in.
Ah,
So that will make it look poor
yeah.
if it's a patch job. That's a question that I get asked by real estate agents all the time. The dog has dug up the carpet by the front door, or they spilled something in the middle of the room and we just want to patch it to put the
Yeah.
house on the market. Um, Patching in the right place with the right piece could be done. Usually, the best way to do it is to pull it out of a closet because you know
Ah,
what direction it's running in.
okay.
But with the age of carpet, too, that can be very difficult.
Mm.
Carpet is manufactured on a piece of cloth that looks like a t-shirt, and then it goes through a big vat of what looks like Elmer's glue. It is a latex glue, and then the backing gets put on. That glue breaks down over time with shampooing and steam cleaning. It ages and starts to dry. And the older the carpet is, when you go to stretch it, the more likely it is that the fiber will release from that backing and the carpet will look worse for a patch than it would if you just left it alone.
You've been to one of these manufacturing plants?
I have, they're amazing.
Oh, how many machines are going at once?
It's unbelievable. Many moons ago, I went to Mohawk, and you couldn't see the end of the facility when you were at the beginning of the facility, and the noise was overwhelming.
Oh.
It's really cool to see though.
Oh, so, like, if you have a grandkid that's like mine, they would love you need an observation deck way above the working floor, right?
I actually attended what was called Mohawk University,
Mm.
and I've joked for many years that if you have insomnia, pick up the phone and call me, and I can tell you things about carpet fibers that will make you go to sleep. That I learned while I was at my trip at the Mohawk facilities going on over 25 years ago.
Wow. Oh, yeah, I bet just the types and sizes of machines. And are most of the carpets we buy today made in the US?
Yes, yes. That is one of the few floor covering options that the majority is made here in the US. And most of them down in Dalton, Georgia, or in or
Yep,
around the Dalton, Georgia area.
yep, I've been through there, yeah. Um, Now I know you've never done this, of course, I've never done this, but maybe 1 or 2 people watching have. So let's go over a couple of quick tidbits on spills. All right. Red wine. What do we hit it with real quick?
I will be very honest with you. With the new carpets and the way that the warranties are written, I recommend that my clients go to the website
Uh,
from who they purchased their carpet, and they all have a spill option. And you type in what the spill is, and it tells you exactly what to do. If it's baking
oh,
soda, if it's vinegar, if it's patting it, if it's ammonia, if it's hot water and dish soap. But they tell you that if you use their steps and work in their order, if you can't get the stain out, they will replace the carpet.
wow. Hey, that's
The
pretty good.
biggest
That's pretty good deal.
the biggest tidbit I give clients uh, is Scotch Guard. That $3.99 can of Scotch Guard that
Yep.
you can buy at the grocery store. If you have a nylon carpet, which is what probably 50 to 60% of the carpets are out in the market these days, If you use something wet to clean up the carpet, whether it's a Resolve or a Woolite to clean up a stain, whether it's vinegar and baking soda, if you get the carpet wet or you use a steam cleaner, a handheld or a rented, or even have a company come in to do it, that Scotch Guard puts that layer of protection over the fibers again so that
Mhm.
the carpet will not stain again. One can do about a 12 by 9 area rug or a small bedroom, and that is mother's best friend when you have small children.
Wow. Okay, I've heard, yeah, because I've heard people talk about it on sofas and furniture before to get that, and, I mean, you got little kids, stuff's gonna happen, especially and then you throw in a dog, right?
Years ago, any soft surface like
Yeah.
upholstered furniture or carpet had the name brand on it.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, they did not tell you that as soon as it got wet, it was removed from the fibers and needed to be replaced.
Ah.
And so there was a little bit of a class action lawsuit that you could not advertise it anymore. But even to this day, that buying that can to protect it after you've had to deal with a pet accident or kid accident or a husband accident, it works.
We're there, yeah. You're wise to include us in that grouping, so yeah. So how does a girl from the Philadelphia area get into flooring?
um, so I grew up in retail. I started working for my mom in a jewelry store in King of Prussia Mall when I was 13 years old. Um, and had always been in retail, always been in service industries, and was in a management position and had had my first child and was stressed out of my mind and thought, oh, I'm going to go to Home Depot and get a quick, easy job that I could leave behind. And after about 6 months, Home Depot did a market study that the majority of people who buy flooring are women. And at that point, the majority of people who sold it were men, middle aged men,
Yep.
and they wanted to buy from women. So they came to me and they said, what do you know about floors? And I said, you walk on them? They said, what do you know about carpet? And I said, you install it fuzzy side up. What do you want? And they said, do you want to learn? And they probably spent about $10,000 training me. Like I said, I got the opportunity to go through Mohawk University, and I got to learn all of the nuances of flooring. And I've been doing it ever since.
That's actually the correct business model for most companies to choose is get to the moms. Because the moms know what the rest of the family wants and needs because they actually listen and care about everything that the husband, the spouse, the kids say, the grandkids, everybody says that. But that's smart on their part because a lot of companies, they cater to women, but you're right, they got guys doing it. And a lot of times a woman wants to talk to another woman, don't they?
And especially in the design industry, because they want somebody who can see color, they want
Yeah.
somebody who can see the big picture.
Yep.
Um, and so that's how I got started in this.
You mean a male answer of nice when a woman says, "What do you think about these colors together?" is not the correct answer?
Typically, no.
Or it's correct, it just needs more information, right?
Yes. Whatever you want, honey, is fine when he's coming with the wife,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
when he's coming to pick, not so much.
Yeah, my wife has a real good design eye, just the houses we've been in, she's helped people, had different opportunities in previous lives to do some design work and stuff like that, and I can't tell most colors, and unless they go on football uniforms together, I don't know that they go together, so I'm no help. So this was, I don't know, 2000 maybe, we're sitting in the den, we're living in, Daytona Beach, and Becky said, "Hey, what about if what would you think if I painted the wall this color?" I'm like, My eyes can't see a hypothetical color on the wall." So, just
It's hard to, people who can see the big picture
yeah,
is huge.
yep,
I remember back in the day where you couldn't buy little cans of paint so that you could do little swatches on the
yeah.
wall. So you were doing it with the 2 inch by 2 inch squares, and trying to see what your entire house was going to look like in that color. And it's the same with flooring. You're looking at a 6 by 6 inch piece of carpet
Yeah.
or a 6 by 6 inch piece of wood or luxury vinyl plank. And most people do not have the eye to see what it's going to look like through 2,000 square feet.
Yeah, in the different shades and then sunlight and curtains to match and carpet to match and then furniture to match. It's like I'm I'm of no help.
I've been in trouble with the husbands many times where the wife says, "We need to get new floors."
Yeah.
I help them through the floors, and the husband comes back and says, "I didn't realize that meant I was going to have to paint and get new window treatments and a new sofa. And this is all your fault." No, I didn't make the
Yeah,
original
no,
decision,
no.
but I've gotten blamed for it many times.
But, if there are any, young husbands watching or future husbands watching, it's part of the deal. You cannot get new carpet and just new carpet. It's just we're telling you right now, just be prepared for matching, window treatments or matching furniture, but it's gonna happen, so, you're on the clock now. You have no excuses. You can't ever say, "I never heard of that before," so
Very true.
alright, so you are a Philly girl.
I am a Philly girl.
Everything Philadelphia. You went to Conestoga High School.
I did.
If I can pronounce it, I'm gonna butcher this, so just, laugh with me. Tredyffrin Township?
That's correct. That was pretty
Nice.
good.
And the area nickname you're from is Stoga, or the school's
Very true.
nickname was, right?
Very true.
Alright. What was the best thing about going to Conestoga High School?
Wow, I hated high school.
Okay.
um, Um, I learned a lot. We moved into the Philadelphia area when I was in middle school, and high school was a totally different world.
Mm,
I remember the first time my father dropped me off at school. I'd missed the bus, and he's pulling up in front of the school. And we were in what's called the main line area of Philadelphia, which is where all the old money is, and a lot of very affluent families.
ah,
And my father goes, "Wow, what are we paying the teachers? The parking lot's full of Jaguars and BMWs and Mercedes." And I went, "Oh no, Dad, that's the student parking lot. The teachers park out back."
yeah.
Um, so
Wow.
I think I learned from high school where I wanted my life to be. Um, I was lucky enough to grow up in a family that I had to work for what I got.
Mhm.
It wasn't handed to me. But I knew that if I worked hard, I could get to where I wanted.
Well, props to your mom and dad for moving into that neighborhood. I like that.
It was neat because you had the public transportation system. You could jump on the train and be in the city within 40 minutes for, $3.50 round trip train ticket. And, the second largest mall of the United States is in King of Prussia. And
Oh,
so there was definitely a lot of things to do and a lot of places to go. And of course, Philly sports, which is
yep.
where my heart is at.
And speaking of cars, what was your first high school car?
I had a 1967 Triumph Spitfire that was convertible, but the convertible top was off of a TR6 and it didn't quite fit. So I couldn't take my car out in the rain because I would get water in the interior of the car. We finally drilled holes in the floor pans to release all of the water when it would
There was no other option available for putting a top on that car?
rain. There was, but it was worth more than what the car was worth. So, but it was a fun car.
Oh, I bet when the weather was nice, you had a lot of people who are happy to drive around with you, right?
Well, it was a two-seater, so you
Yeah,
had
but
to you
still,
had to
like,
rank.
when are we gonna go here with the top down, enjoying the weather? So,
Exactly,
nice. How long did you
exactly.
drive that car?
About a year, and then I traded it in for well, I upgraded to a '65 Mustang.
Ooh, nice. What color?
Originally, it was red. It
Nice.
was multicolor when I got it.
But everything worked?
It was a four-speed, 289 with a
Ooh,
T10
yeah.
transmission. It was a pretty car.
Now, I'm not a car guy, but I've since I was young enough to just at least look at cars, the Mustang has been the coolest looking car for me. Never owned
I
one.
am a Mustang
Yeah,
enthusiast.
but just
I
always the coolest looking
sometime
cars.
before I die, I will own a '69 Mach 1. My
Ooh,
first husband told me I couldn't have one because he said I would die. I'd wrap it around a tree. And I said, well, at least I'd die happy.
mhm, mm,
My current husband says, whatever you want, baby, because he's smart.
yeah, there you go. So how many referrals would you need from your BNI chapter to purchase said car?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think on Thursday,
I
tell
would
them.
say I would say probably about 100 good
Okay,
commercial
okay,
um,
all right.
referrals.
Well, tell everybody, that the chapter's now on the clock, that that's the kinda car you wanna buy, and if they say, "Hey, Diana, how can we help you? What do you need?" Just, "I need this because I wanna buy that."
I'll bring a picture.
Yeah. During your elevator pitch, say, "Here's my goal, folks. I need 100 so I can buy this," and there'll be 3 other car people in that meeting going, "Nice. Okay. I think I can help you with that." My wife and I think it was last year, it may have been early part of this year. There was a show called Mayor of Easttown with Kate Winslet. Did you ever
Okay,
see the show?
I did not.
Okay, well, that ruins this bit. Thanks, Diana. I was gonna see if they did your little small town justice, so because that's in the area where you're from, right? Okay, right.
Here in Wilmington?
No, in Pennsylvania.
Oh, it's in Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Okay.
Check it out, it's a good show, she was wonderful. Had that, Pennsylvania accent, but a good show. But,
I don't
so
have an accent. I don't know what you're talking about, Mike.
yeah, it doesn't come through these lines, I know that, I can't tell a thing, yeah. But I was wondering if they did your area justice, but since you haven't seen the show or heard of it, I'll just move on to my next bit, okay?
Sorry, Mike.
No worries. You are a cancer survivor.
Yeah,
Cool for you. Good for
I
you.
am. Um,
Um, every feeling good, everything's good?
yeah, we're in that grace period before
Okay,
we know how treatment works.
okay.
But getting, I'm probably back to 95% after chemo and radiation. So,
Wow.
very lucky that they caught things early,
Yep,
and I had an amazing support team.
good, good. I was speaking with one of them this morning, and they told me what the chapter did with the T-shirts. And I said, "If I bring that up, is she gonna cry?" And they're like, "I don't know, so we'll pass on that." But it was a great story about what your chapter did to help, so
We can
oh,
touch
okay.
base
Yep,
on it.
tell them what they did. This is another thing I love about BNI, in the chapter and forming these types of relationships.
So, three of the members of my chapter, who all have their own businesses, had been talking for some time about starting a business together, selling inappropriate T-shirts. And the name of the company was "Don't Tell My Mom." Their plan had been to go live in July or August of this year. And when I was diagnosed, they sat down and said, "What can we do for her?" Well, they launched their company early, and they put together 6 shirts that were very centered around my personality, my loves, things that people know about me. And all of the profits for selling those 6 shirts for the last 3 months went to my family and I for our medical.
Nice. 2 of them I know, John and Brad. I can't remember who the 3rd one is.
Nate Lingerfelt,
Okay,
who is actually our promotional products guy who has all the equipment to make the t-shirts.
okay. Care to share with us what a couple of the designs or slogans said?
So one of my biggest loves is the Philadelphia Flyers hockey team.
Yep,
I pretty much eat, live, and breathe hockey through October through April. And so the colors were the actual uh, team colors of the Flyers, so the orange and black, and it said "Fight for Diana." There's a cartoon character with glasses, my mole, ponytail, and their pants are polka dot because if you know me, I'm usually in polka dots
man.
probably 80% of the time. It's kind of my signature thing.
Very nice. I thought that was great. I learned of that this morning, and so I thought that was pretty cool. Glad things are going well, and the prognosis and the outlook is good for you. So,
Thank you.
because I just you need to be back to kicking ass and taking names, because I mean that's what you do, right? You
Absolutely.
sell flooring, but you really kick ass and you take names. So your husband Tom, one of my favorite questions on the show is for people that are married. Ask them. So you and Tom, uh, how did you meet? And you both tell the story the same way,
um, Slightly we tell the story the same way.
slightly.
Um, we'll be married 10 years this coming April. together 14.
Okay.
But we met each other working at Home Depot 20 some odd years ago.
Ah,
Um, uh, we're friends. I worked in a community when I was at Home Depot that people used to say it's like a cult, and I didn't know it until I was out of it, but it was. and um, his paths and mine kept crossing. We actually grew up in the same town, less than a mile away from each other. He remembers me in my high school job where I was working for Pep Boys and I had blue streaks in my hair because I was all about the punk thing in the 80s. Um, and when we worked for Home Depot, we kept getting transferred and promoted, and our paths kept crossing. And it took many, many years, and my first marriage and his first marriage to come to an end before we met up with each other. But it was meant to be.
nice. The blue streaks in the hair, that is actually correct. You did have those, right?
I did.
Alright. And what was your role at the Pet Boys?
I was a cashier.
Okay.
I was the weekend and evening cashier, and he remembers coming into. There's a little bit of an age difference between my husband and I, and but I stuck out because of the hair. And at that point in time, he wouldn't have come near me because of the age difference.
Yeah.
So,
What was the pay for a cashier back then at the Pet Boys?
oh my, I think I might have been making a whopping 4.75 an hour. Yeah.
I remember, my first job in high school, was at a Roy Rogers on Capitol Boulevard. Good food, by the way. And I think Roy
We had a
made
Roy Rogers in our parking lot.
yep,
Yes.
he made like 3 grand a month, and there were like 3,500 stores. That's what he made for using his name, yeah. And, uh, I remember when we got to I think I may have made it to $4 by the time I got out of high school, but I don't think so, but when the state raised the minimum wage to like $3.65 from like 3.19 one year, we're like, "Wow, we're rich." And I always remember the first paycheck we got in high school, you look at the pay stub, "Mom, Dad, why'd they take money out?" Now, how long did you work there?
Pretty much through my senior year, my best friend and I were the two only part-time cashiers. So we split the evenings during the week, and then we split the weekend days. So that when we had rough nights the night before, one suffered one weekend and the other suffered the next weekend.
There you go. And naturally, you live close enough to walk there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. See, I know my small towns. So when did you and Tom decide, we're both available. Let's chat.
Funny enough, Tom had actually come into, I was a manager for Lowe's. I was an administrative store manager for Lowe's, and he was looking for a job and had no idea I was in that store. And I turned around and went, Tom Watkins? Oh my gosh. And um, he took me out to dinner to thank me for getting his resume in front of our district manager. He said, of all the people he knew from our years at Home Depot, I was the only one who went out of my way to help him out.
And did he get the job?
He did not.
Ah, he obviously got a second date, right?
He did get a
Yeah.
second date, but he didn't get the job.
Was he sad for a minute that he didn't get the job?
Um, no.
So when did things, take its course after that first, dinner?
We dated for a little bit. As a single parent at that point in time, I was very hesitant to introduce new people to my children
Yep.
until I knew he was going to stick around. And it probably took him about 6 months before I finally took them to a Reading Phillies baseball game
Yep.
to meet each other for the first time.
Well,
'Cause
good.
our whole life revolves around sports.
Yeah. It makes sense. I mean, that was the right decision to make back then because, I mean, you knew him, but you didn't know yet, so,
Very
uh,
true.
and yes, minor league baseball, best value for money in all of sports. I've always thought that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are you allowed to wear black and gold at all, the Steelers colors?
Oh, no.
Okay.
In fact, my oldest child went to University of Pittsburgh,
Ooh.
and he was told when he took his college acceptance that if he came home a Pirates fan, a Steelers fan, or a Penguins fan, he was out of the will.
Yeah. Nice. See, that's what I love about sports. My wife, I went to Tennessee and our colors are orange and white, and I hate everything about the University of Florida Gators. The
hmm
name, the thought of them, their existence, their colors, because they put blue and orange together. And we're living in Atlanta, so this would have been like 95, somewhere between 93 and 99. I don't know what year it was. And my wife came out of the bedroom. She's wearing an orange top and blue pants. I'm like, nope, go back in and change. I'm not walking out of the house with you in that. So she hadn't since. But yeah, so I get it. That's what I love about sports. So can I assume then your son did not become a Steelers/Pirates fan?
The Steelers, the Pirates I probably could live with because they
Yeah.
stink.
Yeah.
The Steelers, not they're
No.
AFC, not NFC, so I might have given him a pass. But if he came home and said he was a Penguins fan and he
Yeah.
was rooting for Sidney Crosby,
That ain't happening.
yeah, no. But now he's still a Philadelphia boy.
Okay. Would it have been a deal killer with Tom if he was a Penguins fan?
It might have.
Yeah. I'm thinking the
It might have
discussions would
been.
have taken a different turn with me.
I see there's flags that you can see on the front of houses, and because I'm in people's neighborhoods all the time, and it says house divided, and
Yeah.
it'll have two football teams or two college teams.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I don't know that he probably could have been a different football fan, but he could not have been a different hockey fan.
Now, how many Flyers sweaters do you own?
Oh, more than I like to count.
And for those of you who are not hockey fans, that's what they call their jerseys in hockey or sweaters. So that's what
I actually still have an Eric Lindros jersey.
Yes, you do. Yep.
So yeah, I have a Rod Brindamore jersey. So for those North Carolina fans,
Mhm.
the Hurricanes coach was a longtime player for the
Oh, yeah.
Philadelphia.
Yep. He was good too. He was
He was
good.
very good.
I've been asked to ask you, what is the proper way to make a Philly cheesesteak?
I know who asked you to
And
tell me that question.
is it whiz wit?
So it's not so much about how you make a Philly cheesesteak; it's when you're in Philly where you order it from.
Ah.
So when people think about Philadelphia cheesesteaks, they think about Pat's and Geno's. They are the iconic. They're a great place to take a visitor to Philadelphia, but they aren't the best steaks in town. So the best steaks in town, in my opinion, are Tony Luke's, and you can actually get them mailed anywhere in the country on dry ice. And they're
Ooh.
very good. Whiz Wit is with cheese whiz and onions, and that's probably the proper way to eat a cheesesteak.
And that's the local lingo, whiz wit.
That's correct.
So for those of us who are not schooled in what goes into a legitimate Philly cheesesteak, what all goes in there?
So the most important part is the roll, and the rolls have to be from Amoroso's. So my BNI friends who gave you this insider knowledge know that the only time we can have cheesesteaks is when someone from my family has been up to Philadelphia and brings back fresh Amoroso rolls.
Amoroso.
Okay. You can get cheesesteaks anywhere in the country, and they're never the same because of the bread.
All right.
The meat must be shaved ribeye, which you can actually buy down here in coastal Carolina. And then onions and either cheese whiz or American cheese, and it has to be done on a flat top with just a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and that is a cheesesteak. When people start adding things like peppers or ketchup or lettuce and tomato, that's not right.
Do you make them at home?
Yes.
Okay.
And I do different versions. In fact, this weekend I just made cheesesteak stuffed peppers.
Ooh, I think I'd want to try that. Confirm this to me then. At your wedding reception, were Philly cheesesteaks offered?
No.
Okay. And I just made that up.
For our wedding reception.
Nobody told me that. I just made that up. But I'm sure wedding receptions in the Philadelphia area, the food's probably pretty good, right?
Philadelphia is a food-centric town.
Okay.
That was one of the hardest things about moving to Coastal
Mhm.
Carolina. When we first got down here, the food scene was pretty pathetic. But in the 6 years we've been down here, we have gotten much better with the types of foods and the quality of.
We know Philadelphia fans as they just hate Santa Claus. They threw snowballs at Santa Claus. It's just a mean town. Tell me something nice about Philadelphia that we're not aware of.
Something nice about Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I will tell you that the charities that the teams run are unbelievable. One of the things that the Philadelphia Flyers organization does every year is called the Flyers Wives Fight for Lives. And they basically do a carnival inside the stadium where the Flyers play. And all of that money goes to kids who are suffering from diseases that are incurable. Um, and the amount of time and energy and effort that our sports players and even our Philadelphia celebrities spend on charities is amazing. Um, my family was actually lucky enough to um, be able to send my youngest child, who is a type 1 diabetic and has been since she was 20 months old, to the ADA, which is the American Diabetes Association uh, camp, overnight camp, that at that point in time was sponsored by Donovan McNabb, who was our quarterback the on
Yep.
the Eagles. And she actually got to meet Donovan McNabb on Father's Day at overnight camp, which type 1 diabetics typically can't go that far away from somebody who's
Yeah.
doing their monitoring and their shots. And she actually has a pink breast cancer support Donovan McNabb jersey that was signed while she was wearing it, sitting on his
Wow.
lap on Father's Day.
Oh, very nice. Have there been enough people from the Philadelphia area that have moved to the Wilmington area to make you comfortable?
Absolutely. We have a Philadelphia sports bar down here that I can go watch Eagles games at and be a traditional Eagles fan.
Now, my sister lives in Atlanta. My oldest son is a huge Braves fan, and they just detest your baseball team to no end.
Um, Most opposing teams hate Philadelphia in any sport. Our fans are rabid. We
Yeah.
definitely have a blue collar, tough base. We're tough on our own players. It is
Oh,
not
yeah.
unusual for us to boo one of our players.
Yeah.
The joke is that our children learn how to boo before they learn how to clap.
Again, that's why I love sports. Another Philadelphia movie was Trading Places. Are the Philadelphia folks a fan of that movie?
Um, you know what? It's fun to watch it and see things like City Hall and
Mhm.
downtown places. And but most Philadelphia fans, if you ask them what their most Philadelphia movie would be, it would be Rocky.
Oh, it's the best. It is an that to me, that should go on the Mount Rushmore of films, Rocky 1. I love that movie. It's so well written. Anyways,
That's
we can talk about that on another podcast, but I'm with you. I'm with
that's
you.
another that's another thing that you take visitors to Philadelphia to do. They want to go to the art museum and they want to run up the steps.
Yep.
Initially, the Rocky statue that was made after that movie was put down at the Spectrum. They moved it because he's not really a Philly sports
Yeah.
person, and they put it at the base of the steps of the art museum, and so you can stand there
Yep.
with Rocky doing the.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Classic movie. Classic movie.
Yep.
So, all right, give us one good tip to leave with folks who are thinking about what steps they need to take to replace any flooring they might have.
A good place is never going to charge you for an estimate. Getting a price point so that you know what you work with, what you need to work with within your budget for any type of flooring project is um, that's only fair. If you're going somewhere that's charging you to do a estimate, they're looking at closing the deal with you and being a pushy salesperson, which is not what I am.
Very good advice. I think a lot of people don't realize the value of a free estimate, and it's basically their time to come out to your house, look around, and if they do it right, you know, they got a shot at getting the job. So good tip. I like that a lot. All right. So if you're in the Wilmington area or headed down there, Thursday mornings at 8 a.m., the Angus Grill on North 4th Street. Want to meet Diana and her crew that meet every Thursday there? Fun group, very productive group. Please check them out. And Diana, it's been a lot of fun. Good catching up with you today. And I'm sure you and I'll be talking again in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
And we'll see everybody next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.